apparently it's like a unique form of hell because the 1 hour threshold is like right at the limit of anaerobic and aerobic. Like
Yeah.
you're not quite aerobic, but it's like at the very limit of what you can do anaerobically. Reading it, I was like, that sounds horrible. I'm so glad that climbing is a little more joyous than that. This is Climbing Gold.
I think every climber sort of has this like vision of themselves. You know, like there's like that whole meme of like, this is what I think I'm doing. This is what like
Totally, totally.
my mom
This
thinks
is
I
what my
do. You
mom
know,
thinks.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
exactly all that. And I think most climbers are like, oh, dude, I'm like pretty badass. I'm pretty tough. But then you like think about it, and people are worried about their skin. They're like looking at their fingernails all the time. Like they're like, you know, it's like, is it this temperature? Or is it 4 degrees less? Because that's like the biggest deal ever. So I guess like, are climbers actually tough?
Yeah, I think climbers are actually tough. I think that it's easy to make fun of sport climbers and certain boulders and stuff for caring too much about conditions. But overall, if you're climbing in the broad sense, like you're climbing big faces and big mountains, it's hard. It's kind of gnarly. Actually, so randomly, right before we started talking, I got an email from the folks at Grip Magazine. I'm on the cover of Grip this month, which I was like, oh, wow. I haven't been on the cover of a climbing magazine in so long. But it's a photo from this Greenland expedition because there's like a TV show coming out about Greenland. And anyway, in it, I'm like wearing a bunch of layers. I've got my helmet on, and I've got this piece of climbing tape covering my face because I got hit in the face by a piece of falling ice, and so I'd cut my nose. I was bleeding, and we didn't really have anything to do about it, so I just put this piece of tape over my face. So I look completely stupid, but I'm basically like clawing my way up this nice face, like gneiss, the type of rock, like kind of a face climby style of granite, and it's like cold, I'm bleeding, it's like kind of gnarly. And I'm like, climbing can actually be pretty tough sometimes. You're like, and it's funny because, I mean, the last month or two, I've been living the exact thing that you're making fun of, where I'm like, oh, how are conditions at the crag? Will I send my project? Like, oh, I got a tiny, tiny little cut on this one part of my finger and that makes it hard to hold the crux hold. Like, oh, that's frustrating. And you're kind of like, yeah, I think climbing can be at both ends of the spectrum where you have to really care about the specifics sometimes, but then sometimes you just bundle up in 20 layers and you climb 512 on terrible rock in terrible conditions. It's like lightly raining and 20 degrees out, and you're just like, oh my God, it's horrible. It's like, I don't know. I mean, Greenland was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think it compares to like last week? There was the crazy cold snap across the U.S. And did you see that the photo of like Patrick Mahomes' helmet shattering? It was like so cold. It was like
Oh,
negative
I
20.
heard about it. I heard about
Yeah,
that
like
shattering.
it's
It's like,
shattering. You're
wow.
like, what a crazy sport, right? You're just like, what? That is like, that's so burly. It's so tough. Do you think, like, are there any professional sports that you think are equivalent or maybe not the same, but like at least require the same sort of grit as climbing?
Oh, I kind of think that most other professional sports probably require a similar level of grit. I mean, professional football coming to mind. I'm sure people are experiencing a lot of pain as a professional football player. You're getting hit by 300-pound men. Like, no matter how much padding you have on, it can't feel good. And, I mean, really, I don't know. I was once chatting with a professional cyclist who was telling me that professional cycling is basically the most painful sport in the world because you're using your biggest muscles and you're pushing them to failure. And so for a race, it's like basically the biggest and strongest parts of your body are like burning pain for the entire time. And it's like horrible. I'm like, oh, that sounds, climbing by contrast, it's like, oh, my forearms got a little pumped, but it's not like a deep burning. It's not like your whole body is going to fail. I mean, occasionally you experience that in climbing, but it's pretty rare. Like full
Yeah.
body chimneying, like the occasional thing where
Yeah.
you're like full body
You
stemming and
come
your
out and you're
body
like
just gives out.
shaking. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's certainly stories of like coming out of off-widths and puking and things like that from like full body exertion. But I think, if you're an elite runner, if you're an elite cyclist and you're taxing your engine to the absolute limit, I think that's probably less comfortable overall.
Hmm.
I mean, it must be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. The Tour de France, like watching that, it was just like how much those guys give day after day. And you're like, to do that 3 weeks in a row, every single, I mean, they have like 2 rest days, I think, but it's just, you're like, that is burly.
Dude, speaking of that, I once read like a New Yorker article or something about the 1 hour cycling challenge. It's like distance in a velodrome in 1 hour,
Mm.
and apparently it's like a unique form of hell because the 1 hour threshold is like right at the limit of of anaerobic and aerobic. Like
Yeah.
you're not quite aerobic, but it's like at the very limit of what you can do anaerobically. So you
Hmm.
basically have to push absolutely as hard as you can for as long as you possibly can. And so it's supposedly the most painful thing that you can do as an athlete is like road cycle as hard as you can for 1 hour straight,
Hmm.
for distance. And reading this article, it was about some champion, who's like setting a record on it or whatever. But reading it, I was like, that sounds horrible. I'm so glad that climbing is a little more joyous than that.